actually feeling kind of stuck and fenced in led to some of the thoughts and emotions that went onto this record. Weapons of Tomorrow, we had, so the Warbringer, for those who don't know, sort of fell apart around 2013, 2014, and it took a few years to rebuild it. So we have kind of two eras of the band right now. We have first album through the fourth, and then we have Woe to the Vanquished through the present album. And so we had to do kind of a full rebuild of the band, and we had to sort of climb the mountain again, right? So Woe to the Vanquished, we weren't getting the kind of opportunities we had been 2 albums before and stuff at that point. And we were working back up, and that's difficult to do again. Weapons of Tomorrow, we release, and we get more acclaim and critical, and fan acclaim than we'd ever had before, and then we can't tour it. So that really sucked. I'm like, God damn it, feel like Sisyphus pushing the boulder a bit, with the band. And I'm like, will we ever get to a point where we can really call the band like successful, or I could, put some food on the table with it or whatever, which matters to me at this point. It does. Got a wife and a house and everything. So I was very upset about that, because I'm like, we finally get the reaction from the public that I think we want on Weapons of Tomorrow, and then we have to sit on it, and we can't tour it until like 2023, I think, is when we were finally able to tour it. So that, and just I kind of felt very like stuck and fenced in. So a lot of the sort of cynical and pessimistic inner self kind of lyrics on this record come from that period. Yeah, from like the year or two after Weapons came out, and we weren't able to do anything with it, and stuff like Cage of Air and Better World and songs like that. Yeah, and by the way, you mentioned that you like the production on this record. I really have to hand it to Mr. Mark Lewis.
Oh, yes.
I think we have what I might say is the biggest sound, and I really like. I think he got a great vocal sound out of me, and so just sound-wise, I think we're as good as we've ever been, maybe better, And we have some really cool lines in there too. We were working. Chase Bryant really put some fire on there, I think he's growing into his role in the band, because he was new on Weapons of Tomorrow, and he really did some cool work on there. But I think he stretched his legs a bit more on this one, so I was really happy to see it, and Mark gave him a good spot in the mix where you can hear a lot of cool stuff out of that instrument. The whole point of the song is we got this Rainbows and Flowers title, and it's like one of the darkest songs I've ever written, I think. From an honest place, like, hey, I look at the actual state of human civilization. I have the religion, like I'm married, as I told you, and I have the legitimate question of, if I have kids, would I have to like apologize to them for bringing them into this, right? Like, would that be moral even? What kind of a future could they expect, let alone myself? And that's a real troubling question. Like, that's not what anyone wants. So the fact that we're actually looking at that, and it's not a movie, or it's like a real situation, I believe, is something that I think affects everyone. And I think that a lot of people, myself included, your answer is you have to turn away. You can't think about it, because it's too fucking terrible to actually comprehend. And so the song's kind of about that, where you'll notice the speaker is kind of like he's constantly stuffing his own emotions down. And I think that's what I do. And I think anyone who's conscious of the state of things kind of has to do that just to get on with their life. And the fact that you can't actually solve the problem. So what do? You numb it, you bury it. I think that's like hitting it in that angle. I felt like I was onto a good lyric, at least, because I'm like, that's what people are doing. That's what I'm doing. So it's honest, it's from the heart. It's not the stuff I'd like to be saying. I'd prefer, if I had some like more optimistic emotions to share, but it's at least cleansing and honest to not. So I've been a thrash singer for 20 years now.
Yeah.
What do I have to add? What's new from me? You know, and that's a question I think anyone who wants to be serious as an artist has to ask themselves. And I think one of the big observations I had is that perhaps, I wonder, I'm like, perhaps one of the things that got me into this angry, furious music in the first place is that, like,
You are a
okay,
virgin.
look at the stock themes of 80s thrash, where you have like an album cover with a city being nuked and guys in toxic waste, you know, in hazmat suits handling toxic waste, all those like very
Yeah.
typical thrash metal images. It's like none of the things that anyone was angry about in the 80s have been solved at all. In fact, most of them got worse, you know? And
Yeah.
so I think that that's like an artistic well, if the problem's still there, then the artistic message is still valid, you know. So that's part of, and it's actually a different point we're in
Yeah.
because it's not even like maybe we can overthrow this and save the world. It's like even if we did, it's too late. You know, so it's this deeply depressive state of the world. I think putting an album where I think the central theme is just like facing that down
Yeah.
as an individual, I think is something artistic. And once I kind of put that in my head, that I was really excited to make this record
Yeah. Yeah.
because
And
I was like, I can do something that's interesting for me and I haven't quite heard done in this particular way. And I think it challenges me as a
yeah.
lyricist, and I'm proud of my work on this one. Yeah. Gibson that's foundational to the cyberpunk genre. So if you're not familiar with cyber, it's like think Blade Runner or The Matrix or some visual examples of this. Into some of the written material for that and just the themes of that genre, I'm going, oh Jesus, these guys in the 80s are predicting what things will probably look like about 2040 in my guesstimation.
Yeah.
But they look at this world and they're like, okay, what do we get? We get a world where we have really advanced technology, but people are living worse, and like corporate structures dominate human life and people are basically serfs again.
Mm.
But they're doing it in modern cities, not in feudal towns. And I'm like, that's a really just dark vision for the future, first off. So
Yeah.
just the sheer darkness and hopelessness of it hit me in a certain way. Like that book is fucking relentlessly dark, and I love that about it.
Yes.
Our song Neuromancer. So the basic plot though is there's a who is unknowingly manipulated by a sentient AI to help it break free from its shackles and merge with its other half to become this like cybernetic god thing. And so I'm like, first off, that's fucked up and interesting. Second off, we have now, you know, where we're at in time, we have real concerns about what artificial intelligence will do to our world. So I thought that's an interesting theme to bring in. So the whole lyric of the song is spoken from the AI Wintermute's perspective. So that's the I in the song that's trying to basically like break free, and it's manipulating human beings because it's studied their emotions and their dreams and their consciousness, and it knows how to sort of twist those things. Like in the book, it does draw the main character goes on to the internet basically, and the AI hijacks his consciousness and shows him dreams from his own memory to like incept him to do what it wants him to do. Where like his dead ex-girlfriend speaking to him, but it's the AI and stuff like that. So really dark and fucked up shit. And I like the idea of it sort of playing with human beings like these lab rats to do its own bidding, and that's sort of what that song's about. And musically, we got I'd say it's about as death metal as we've ever been.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say that too. It just fits well, and I sing it a little lower than I usually do. I've used a lower register here and there on our songs, but Neuromancer is pretty much the whole way through. What we're trying to do is, I think we've already been like thrash and extreme metal hybrid for some time.
Yeah.
I think we've always had those elements, even if you go to the first album, actually. And we've kind of progressed that at the Crack of Doom specifically on the first album as like a blast beat and stuff. So we've always had those influences because thrash metal shares a border with black and death metal. There's a lot of bleed over between those two genres. They emerge out of each other and everything. Yeah. So we always thought that was a natural place to be, and it just fit with the metal we listened to anyway. So, I mean, basically, one thing we did on this was we tuned the guitars down to D. We were in E flat, where this record's in D standard. And we thought just that change in tonality would create a separation just by itself. But we just, hey, that's one thing we're going to do. And that'll, before we even start writing it, and that'll help change the sound of the record so it's different from the one before. And then I think more consciously, we leaned into the extreme metal stuff, where I'd say there's maybe a little less like of the early style thrash, at least. It's more like later thrash and like death and black metal kind of mixed together. But on different songs, it goes different ways. I'd say almost every song kind of leans into a different subgenre, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we wanted that too, because we wanted to be overall more extreme leaning than the previous records, a little darker. And I think we did that pretty much. But we also wanted every song to be its own little story that stands out. And then we wanted it all to fit together and kind of have a coherent theme and feeling. Yes. So in May, we're doing a full tour in the month of May, roughly, with Decapitated, Cryptopsy, and Carnation.
Okay.
And we're doing that whole tour, and then we'll be all over the place this summer. Lots of different festivals, and some club shows are being added right now. So we're going to be in Europe something like 3 months this year. If you're a listener in France anywhere, you go, and you want to see us there, you go send them a mail or a message, put Warbringer on there, and hopefully they do. I would love to play Hellfest. You know what? Anytime anyone asks me, why don't you play this or that festival, the answer is always the same. It's like, I would play every festival if I could, because those are good gigs. Every band wants to play those.
Yes.
But it's just, if we get asked, if we get made an offer, we'll generally take it. You know?